Hey, 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 happy Monday. Welcome to Christmas in July at Under Cottonwood. So, I'm Jill with Under Cottonwood, and tonight is our first night of Christmas in July, and we are working on bows. So, give me just a second for technology to work here, and we will get started. So, I hope you are super excited and saw the bows that I posted a picture of earlier, because we're going to make the exact same ones tonight. And a lot of you said you were interested in learning how to do these, so I'm excited about that. I think everything's working good. So, anyway, again, I'm Jill with Under Cottonwood. And I have all kinds of goodies for you tonight as we start Christmas in July. Obviously, you can tell I am into it. I got some goodies out that I still have available, so you can see those around. And yeah, I got some new stuff to share with you. And you're going to be learning all kinds of stuff tonight. So, let me get a drink here. I think we are good to go. So when you join me here at 7:01. So when you join me here, pop on and say hi. And we are gonna get going on our wreath making. What are we even doing here? Bow making tonight. Okay, so first up, here's number one that I showed earlier. Here's the first little bow we're going to make. So this could obviously be used, any of the bows that we're going to be used tonight could be used on presents for Christmas time, a project that craft project that you might have going on, and they could all be altered to whatever kind of ribbon you have. So everything that I'm going to use tonight is wired ribbon, and everything that I have is 2.5 inch. So you could use the same techniques with smaller ribbon, kind of the, gross grain ribbon that doesn't have wire in it. It can all be used the exact same way. We're just kind of forming the different wreaths. So, or, gosh, why do I keep saying that? The different bows. And so, like, for instance, this one has a pipe cleaner on the back, and it is just ready to use on whatever project you have. So, okay, first things first, let me show you. So here is the picture of our bow, very simple. And then, so I have this little Fiskars, this is just a little measuring mat that I use for all kinds of different things, scrapbooking and cutting fabric and all kinds of different stuff. But this will kind of help me to know exactly what size pieces of ribbon I'm cutting, so that I can kind of fill you in as to exactly what you're going to need to make the exact same thing. So first of all, here is 2.5 inch ribbon. Now this came from Hobby Lobby, probably. I think they have this pattern about every year at Christmas, at least the last couple years. So the first thing that you're going to want to do for this particular bow, so I'm going to kind of set that one here so you can see what well, no, that's not going to work, but okay. All right. So the first piece for the ribbon that I'm going to cut out is what we're going to use to make our loops of our bow. So let's do, I don't know, let's make that one about 12 inches. So then the second piece that we're going to use is going to be what makes our tails. So I'm going to cut that one a little bit longer. So my mat has got measured out 16 inches here, so I'm just going to go with that. Okay, so I have my two pieces of ribbon here. So one was 12 inches and one was 16 inches. Now comes the part we're going to turn it into a bow. So the first thing you want to do is take your smaller piece, the 12-inch piece, and you just kind of want to fold that over. And you know what? All right, I can tell you right now that's not going to be big enough. So let's cut another one. So that one was 12-inch. I'm going to cut another one just a little bit longer. So that, our tail was 16. So I'm going to turn this one into our tail real fast. So I'm going to take the piece that I cut for our tail that was 16 and we're going to start with that one instead. So fold those two over to the middle. So here's what you got. I took the whole piece, I just folded it right to the middle there. Okay. So it's nice and flat. Now I'm just going to go right from the bottom, pinch it together. Okay, so there's my two sides, and I just pinched it right in the middle where they came together. So now I'm just going to take our other piece that we had here. I'm going to kind of pinch it together in the middle just a little bit. So here's my original piece, and then here's the other piece. I kind of grabbed it right in the middle. So what I want is for that middle piece to go right in the front. I'm just going to flip this over and tie our ribbon just like a bow. So, you see the middle piece there? We just used the larger ribbon piece that we had cut to tie right in the middle of our bow. So now from there, if you wanted to use this like as a craft project, I could have done this here. Let me take it out a little bit. So I'm going to slide this pipe cleaner right up underneath where we just tied, and then I'm just going to tighten it back down again. So just like that, that's our first bow. Super simple. Now you can just kind of go back, and since it is wired, you can go back and just fluff up the sides. And then if you want, you can come in here. Let me get this retied here. Okay, so then you can come back in here and you can kind of, if you're into the dovetailing the ends, you can just cut that, kind of make that pretty little angle there at the bottom. So you would do that on both sides. So you just fold it together and then you want to cut towards it, and that will create that angle at the very end. So when you're finished, there's the piece that you have, and all you did was use the long piece of ribbon and tie it right in the middle and have that pipe cleaner right through it in there. So super simple. Okay, so that's the first one. All right, number two. So here's our number two. It's almost identical, except for it has more loops on the top part, and it still just has the one piece of tail. So what you do on this one is very similar. So I've got my ribbon here. So to make our loops a little bit fuller and bigger, we're going to go ahead, get this flipped over here. So I'm going to cut my first one about 20 inches. Set that aside. And then my second one is going to be about 18. And my third is going to be about 16. Now these are just the 3 pieces that I need for the loops. So I'm going to start with my longest one first again. So I'm going to take that, cross it right over into the middle. Okay, now I'm going to take my next longest one, so it should be about 18 inches. So I'm getting a little bit smaller in each one. I'm going to cross this one over. So far I've got the longer piece, and then I've got the one that's a little bit shorter. Now I'm going to take the smallest one, and this one was about 16 inches. Cross it over, doing the exact same thing. So I'm just finding the middle there and bringing those together. And it is just going to go on top of those. So once you have all 3, it should look just like that. Okay, so I'm going to let those sit here for a minute. And then I'm going to cut out what's going to be our tail. I'm going to keep it pretty long too. So it's going to be about 20 inches. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the bow part. So here's our 3 pieces, and I am just going to scrunch them up right there in the middle. So you can see you have 3 loops on each side. So now I'm going to take my tail again. And I'll kind of pinch it together, find the middle, kind of pinch it together. So I'm tying this just like a bow. And before I have it tied all the way down, I'm going to slide a pipe cleaner right through there. So there's your pipe cleaner. Pinch it back together and pull this nice and tight. Then you can just work on spreading those out. And again, since it's wired, you don't have to really worry about getting the shape much. You just have to puff it back up a little bit since we flattened it down. So I'll just kind of poof this one out a little bit. See how it just popped right back up? And you can just kind of get it however you like it. So we got that tied right in the middle again. So this time, the first one, just dropped it. The first one only had 1 loop and 1 tail. This one has got 3 loops and 1 tail. Then you can do the same thing. You can either cut at an angle or make the dovetails on the end of this. And then you have that pretty little bow. So the thing that's nice about this is if you're just starting out, kind of working on making bows, one of probably the easiest things to remember is always get wired ribbon and keep the same pattern. That's going to kind of help you a little bit so you don't have to worry about it as much if you just kind of use one. And the reason I say that is because, let me show you. Here's one that we're going to use a little bit later. But if you use ribbon that has 2 different sides, then you have to worry about flipping it to where the pretty side is always on the outside. So if you're not super comfortable with making bows to start off, and you start with, you know, one of these kind of ribbons or something where no matter what, each side is going to be pretty, then you don't have to worry about it quite as much as to whether or not you've got the outside going the right way and all of that, because it's going to look the same whether you have it going this way or this way. So I mean, obviously you would probably be able to tell which it was, but nobody else will. So that's kind of a little trick there. Okay, so now we have the first two. Let me get my ribbon situated here again. Here's another little trick to keep your ribbon in place. If you just get those little, I think they're called T-pins, like from the sewing department, and I just put it right in there, and so it keeps it from going everywhere crazy. Okay, so we've got 2 bows done so far. So now this next one is kind of where this was our number 3 bow. So it's really pretty, but one reason why I picked this particular type of ribbon pattern is you can see on both of them, the ornaments and the trees. Nothing aggravates me more than to have a pretty little design like this, and when you're making some sort of bow, you've got everything the right side up on one side and then upside down on the other. So this is a really easy way to A, make a bow, and B, keep the pattern to where you always have it going the right direction. So let me kind of set that down, and then I'll show you how we're going to get started with this one. So both of the last 2 ribbons that I used were from Sam's, or from Hobby Lobby. And this one, Sam's has really good seasonal ribbon. So if you're ever there, always go check that out. So here's what I mean. See how we have these pretty Christmas trees? And sometimes when you're making your bow, depending on what you're doing, it can end up going like that on the loops or on the tails or something, and I think it's aggravating. So so what we're going to do, and you want to kind of remember to kind of try to work in odd numbers again, just like with anything else. So what I am going to do is probably cut 4 pieces of this one, just simply because I have so much more of this. Maybe even 5 of this. So for this particular bow, you want to start out with your pieces cut a little bit bigger. So probably if I'm measuring this out here, yeah, you're still probably in about the 20-inch. Let's just fold this up. Yep, that's probably, so let's say 20 inches is about what we want to do. Because you can always make it shorter. You got to keep that in mind too, is that you can always come back and trim your ribbon up a little bit shorter, but you can't make it any longer. So it's easier to go a little bit longer from the get-go. Okay, so I'm going to cut 5 of those at 20 inches. Got those, and then to kind of keep it an odd number, I'm going to cut 2 of these at 20 inches also. So this is super simple way to make a really pretty bow. Like, people will be really impressed if your bow ends up like that, right? That would be really pretty on a gift or on a Christmas tree, or if you're making a wreath or something like that, that would be a really pretty bow. Okay, so here's where you want to get started. So I have 7 different strips. So the first thing you do is take one of your pieces here that you have cut out. So again, I kind of started with 20 inches. And I can always cut it shorter if I need to. But what you want to do is take one in and flip it about 1/3 of the way down. If you go a little bit more than that, that's okay. But you really kind of just want a loop here and then your long tail, okay? So then, once you have that, you just take from the side and you kind of pinch it together. So here's your loop, and then there is your pretty little tail. So then you just keep going with all of these, doing the exact same thing. And you're holding this one the whole entire time. So then you just grab onto that one. So this is where it comes in that you can, comes into play with keeping the design going the right way. Because if you started with this end, then you've got your Christmas trees upside down. So this is a really easy way to always keep that pattern going the right way. So again, I'm just pinching those together and then I'm going to add it to what I already have. So I'm hanging on to all of them. Okay, now I'm going to start with, and see my ornaments are the same way. So I want to keep them going in the right direction here. So I flip it over just about a third of the way down. And then just pinch it together. And I just add it to what I've already got here in my hand. So I'm going to do the other one of this ribbon or design. And so since that one's on this side, I'm going to add this one over here. So I'm keeping the pretty side to the outside. Okay. Now, if you didn't want your loops to be necessarily as big as mine, then you just don't fold it over quite as much. Okay. You can kind of play with the size there. So once I have it pinched together, I just add it to the rest of them. Okay, so I've got all of my loops and all of my tails here in my hand. So I've got one of these on this side, one of these on this side. Got the one right in the middle. Okay, so now I've got all of this. Now what I do, now you could use a pipe cleaner if you wanted to. What I like to do for this particular one is use just a clear zip tie. And you are just going to take this right around where you've been holding them all together. You start working your zip tie right around. And now, don't pull it. You pull it tight enough to kind of hang on to it for a second. And now you can kind of go back and work on all your tails and make sure they're going the right way. Kind of fluff them out a little bit. Same thing for your loops. You kind of just make sure you got one going in every direction that you want. And when you're happy with the way it looks, you just go ahead and tighten that down. And then all you have to do with this is just come in and cut off the end of that little zip tie there. And then you have all of your pretty little tails. Okay. So I just kind of lay it out flat here. Now if you wanted to attach this to something, you could definitely add a pipe cleaner in there to this one too. Just slide it right under your, when you're getting your zip tie going here, you would just take your pipe cleaner and slide that right in there, and then that way your bow can attach to something else. Another thing that I see people do a lot of time is you can use another zip tie. So you would essentially zip tie one zip tie to something so that this particular one can attach to whatever your project is. But if you're using it for like a Christmas tree, to add a bow to a Christmas tree or a wreath or something, especially like your own things, you might not want it to be quite so permanent, so you would probably just want to stick to a pipe cleaner on that one. Okay, so now you can go back And if you want, you can cut your tails down a little bit. This time I'm just going to kind of angle these a little bit. So there you have it. You've got a really pretty little Christmas bow there. How about that? Super simple, huh? And again, if you had like, let me just show you a little bit. So if you only had like a 1.5 inch, cut a couple pieces of this one here. Just so you can kind of see what it would look like if you had maybe a thinner ribbon. We'll just do 3 pieces real quick so you can see. Okay, so if you were using a 1.5 inch instead of the big 2.5 inch, oh thanks, it's super, that one was really sparkly, so now there's glitter everywhere, of course, but, so you would do the same thing. You would just fold it over about 1/3 of the way down and then pinch it together. And then get another one here. And do the same thing there. And then you take your last one and just pinching it together. So there you have it. See, exactly the same thing, just a thinner ribbon. So you can use the same technique no matter what ribbon you have. And the bigger, like the big 4-inch ones, they just, they're just really big and full and pretty. So, and like for this time, since I don't want to really grab another zip tie, I'll just show you once you have that pinched together, you just take it, just flip it around, get that pipe cleaner really nice and tight, and then you have that cute little bow. So that's just the same thing, only with a smaller ribbon versus the big one. Can you make twine bows like that? Yeah, I suppose you could. I suppose you could probably make all of them, anything like that, really. Okay, so now probably one of the easiest ways to make a bow, especially like if you have ribbon straps or something left over, is this cute little guy right here. So super simple. I use this all the time with, especially when you have different craft projects, like a sign that you want to bow on or something like that. Of course, I'll show you how to use this one on a present too, but yeah, this is really easy. I don't know what I hit here. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what you want to do for this one is just take, so again, I've got 2.5 inch ribbons. These are all from Sam's, and then I have one that is 1 inch. So I'm going to start with this one. Let's see what we want to do here. So these are probably, let me measure it out here. So this is only about 10 inches this time. So I'm going to cut 3 pieces of this. So I'm going to take one piece. Now these are all the same length. So I'm going to take one like this, and I'm going to cross it over like that, and then another one like this. No, through the middle. What am I doing here? Okay, so then I'm going to go with my next ribbon and do the same thing, only this time I'm going to cut these just a little bit shorter than the first one. So if my first ones were 10 inches, I would do these like 8. so now I'm going to do the same thing with these. Cross them over, one right down in the middle. Okay, so now the very last one I'm going to add is the 1.5 inch one. So not only is this one not as wide as the others, you're also going to just keep making this one a little bit shorter than the ones before. So if you went from 10 inches on the first one, 8 inches on the second ribbon, so like make this one 6. Okay, same thing. We're going to cross them over. So now I have all of these pieces right here. So I'm gonna, before I get it all going together, I'm just gonna take this 1.5 inch one and I'm gonna cut me a pretty long piece because I'm gonna use it to tie it up. Okay, so I've got one extra now. So I'm just gonna go right here in the middle, hopefully you can see, of all these pieces and just start pinching it together. So then it kind of looks like that. Okay, so you've got all of those different ribbons pinched together. Then you take the extra piece that you cut and you're just going to tie it off. So I literally just tied it right in the back. You can double tie it if you want, just to make sure. So there's the front. Now you can kind of just work these all around, kind of get them spread back out again. And then your piece that you tied this with in the back, I would just cut the ends like the rest of them. It will fit right in there to the back and nobody will ever know. And then there's that. And again, you could put a pipe cleaner through the back of it, kind of like the one I did here, before you tie it, so that you have that on there so that you can attach it. But this is, and again, you could use all the same color of ribbon, or the same ribbon, I mean, and not, you know, not do it with that many different designs. You could just use the same pattern and then just go through and do the exact same steps. So, and then if you had a small project, like I said, if you want to use these on like a sign or something that you're working on, you just make all of your strips shorter, and then you're just gonna, when you pinch it together, you're just gonna have a smaller little bow. This one was just kind of bigger because it's easier to show, I think, for you to see it when it's a little bit bigger than a teeny tiny one. So, and like I said, if you need something to attach it to, you just put that pipe cleaner right through the back before you tighten it down. So there's those. So that was our fourth bow of the night. So let me get this out of the way. Okay. Got glitter everywhere. Hey, if you're jumping on, say hi. If you have any questions yet, I know it's, yeah, well, we're 30 minutes into it, so been on for a little bit, but if you have any questions, feel free to holler. Okay. Our next bow was this one. So this is just, hey Cheryl. So this is just using one pattern with multiple loops. Okay, so it's really simple. You have to remember to kind of keep in mind of those odd numbers. So for this one, I'm simply getting this just to kind of have somewhere to put my ribbon on. Okay, so you could, again, make this as big or as small as you want to. I'm just going to kind of start, I don't know, let me measure that a little bit. So maybe my tail's about 10 inches there, kind of like the one we just did, or the glittery one, I'm just going to kind of pinch this together, and that's going to kind of start my tail. So then I am just going to create my loop right there, just like we did with the one before. But this time, oh, that's okay. Hey, no worries. We can always go back or whatever. So when you have it like this, remember how I told you it was easier when you're just starting to use one that's all the same pattern? Because this, since this has got front and back difference, now we have to be careful and get the pretty side on the outside of things. So when you start your loop here, you've got to pinch it together and then twist this so that your pretty side stays on the outside. So you do the same thing, you make another loop on with the bottom, pinch that together, you're still hanging on to it, and then you gotta twist your ribbon here. I'm gonna twist it this way just because it's a little easier. I'm definitely gonna watch the replay. Yeah, it was kind of a slow start, but yeah, we're on the last one now. So, well, no, just the last one that I showed you. I've got a couple more that we might do here. So, okay, so again, so you make another loop. So right now I'm working on loop number 3. So I'm probably gonna go to 5 just because I'm kind of trying to keep the evens. So then I'm gonna flip my ribbon here, make another loop. I'm holding this in my hand the whole time. So then I've got to twist it around. So this is, what do we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so when I get number 5, I'm going to pinch that in the middle and hang on to it. And then this, I'm just going to, this is going to be, so I got one tail that I started with, and this is going to be my other tail. So kind of measure it out here to where it's the same length. And I'll just cut it off. Okay. So this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier, because you've got your snowman pretty on this side, and now he's upside down. So sometimes with the ribbon that you're using, the different patterns, that's just the way it is. So, okay. So now I've got this tail going this way. So this tail is right here. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, what did I do here? Do I have 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. I'm going to use my pipe cleaner this time and take my pipe cleaner right here where I've been holding on to my bow. Okay. And I'm just going to take the back of it and twist it and spin the ribbon at the same time. So it just gets it really nice and tight. And then you can just start fluffing out all of your different pieces and make sure you get your tails going the same way. Do you know how many times I've watched the same night? Oh, girl, I know. I watch other people and pause and go try to do it and then figure it out. I don't know if I ever... Okay, so here's how. I'll tell you a funny story here in just a second. Well, I don't know if it's funny, but it's funny to me. But so there's your last one. So now I think in the beginning, I think I had a longer piece. So this probably has like 7 loops. And this one I only did 5. But you would just do the same thing. You would just keep going and making it as big as you want it to be. So and then you have your little tails that you can always come back and dovetail those if you want. You've got your pipe cleaners where it's ready to attach to, like I said, whatever project you're working on. So let's just go ahead and do that. Well, that one's at an angle. I'm just going to angle this one then. So, there you go. Got a cute little, like I said, you can just keep messing with them until you get them looking the way you want. So that was number 5. But so, Brandy, to kind of go with what you just said about learning and watching videos and stuff, I bought this, oh, I call it expensive because I think it was like somewhere in the $30 to $40 range. Big bow maker. This was like probably 4 or 5 years ago. And it made these incredible bows, but they were so flippin' hard to figure out that I would literally watch a video and literally stop it like every 10 seconds because I would have to see what was next. And finally I was like, this is crazy. I could not get the hang of it. So I gave up, totally gave up on that one. So, okay, so let's recap real fast. Let me get my stuff put away here so I don't feel so out of whack. Okay, so the first bow that we did tonight was this one. Okay, we cut 2 pieces of ribbon. They both were about 20 inches in length. So we took this one. Let me show you the little piece I cut this and it was too short. So we had a piece like this, and then you just simply fold it over. So you find the middle here and you fold this over. So then if you wanted to use this one, you could. It would just be a lot smaller. You just pinch it together, right? So there's your little, almost looks like a little bow tie. So then you just take your next strip that's a little bit longer and you tie it right through the middle. So that's what creates your tails here. You just use it to tie off your bow. So we have that one to start with. The next one that we did was this one. So same principle, except for this time, instead of only having one loop, we cut 3 different lengths of ribbon for the top. So I think we started with like, an 18 inch, a 16 inch, and then a 14 inch. Folded those over in the middle, and then had one 20-inch strip that we tied in the center, and we just slipped a, how many times I've tried to make a simple bow. Yeah, I know, it's crazy how complicated a stinking bow could be. So we just tied a pipe cleaner through the back of it. So again, now you have it ready to attach to whatever you want to use that one for. So there was those 2. And then our third one was the pretty little glittery one that we used, that we just cut like 20 inches, and then we fold those over about 1/3 of the way, and then just kept adding to that one. And this is the one we use a zip tie to attach all of these together. Okay. And then, the fourth one were these little cuties. Just the different strips, and then you tie them together with an extra strip. And we put that little pipe cleaner in the back of that. And truly, yeah, you're going to be so mad at yourself that it took so long to figure it out, because they're so simple, really. Okay. Then our last one was this one, where we used the same pattern and we just kept making the loops in. Well, we started with a tail, and then we just kept making as many loops as we wanted to with that one. Okay, so there's 5 of those. So now I have 2 other things that I want to show you. The first thing that I want to show you is how I generally make, well, no, I have one little trick. Let me just show you the trick really, really fast. Okay, so I'm just going to go back and grab this 1.5 inch or 1 inch. What is this one anyway? I call it, oh yeah, 1.5. Okay. Okay, so the easiest thing, probably what Jody was asking me earlier, the easiest thing to do, if you have a piece of ribbon, I'm just going to cut this off. Okay, let's say you have a piece of ribbon like this, okay? All you have to do is cross this over like that, and then pinch it together, and you have a bow, just like that. So from there, you could maybe get another strip of ribbon. Let me just show you that again. So if you have this and you just fold it over like that and then flatten it out, add that to this, there's your bow. So that is literally probably the easiest. So then you can just take a pipe cleaner, pull out all your little loops and tails here, and then just tighten it down. So simple way. So that's where you can literally tie anything in like a loop that kind of looks like a bow, whether you actually like went to all the work of doing that or not. So that's a super, super easy little cheating version. Okay, so there's that. Now I want to show you what I use, which is the Easy Bow Maker. And if you know, because you've seen my stuff, that I like to use all kinds of ribbons to make one bow. I just think I like the size difference. I like when you're adding multiple sizes together, and I like when you're adding multiple patterns together. So I'm going to kind of take, oh, what the heck. I'll take everything, all the ribbons that we used, and all the different bows, and make one bow. And I'll show you. Because I want to show you how I use the Easy Bow Maker to use that in case you're interested in getting this. Because it is a lifesaver. I mean, I showed you all those, how you're holding them with your hand. But it's definitely a little bit easier when you have something there to kind of help ease that a little bit. So let's just start with, I'm going to start from the end. Okay, maybe I'm not going to get quite so crazy and use all of the ribbons that I had, but I'll use a few here, because that was kind of nuts. So on this, if you do have the Easy Bow Maker, this spool is for your ribbon, and these spools are to hold your tails and your loops. So, in fact, you know what? I have, yeah. If you want a link to purchase the Amazon, message me and I'll send you a link, because I have an Amazon link for it. Okay, so let's just say this has got measurements along the bottom, so you can kind of see the length that you're using too. So for this one, it measures out to 8 inches. So I'm going to start with my tail being 8 inches. So you pinch it together, and then you just have your tail here, and you twist your ribbon when you put it in there, so that, again, the pretty side is on the outside. So now I'm just going to kind of measure out to that 6 inches there for my next loop. I can put this right through there and twist it at the same time. So then I'll measure this loop to the 6. And then take my end and make sure it goes out here to the 8. So there's what I have to start with. So both loops are measured out to 6 inches, and both tails are measured out to 8 inches. Okay? So there's that one. Now, just for fun, let's grab this one. So I got another 2.5 inch one here. So I'm just going to do the same thing, except for this time I'm going to make my tail shorter, and I'm going to make my loop shorter. So I measured my tail on this one to about 6, and I measured my loop on this one to about 5. So you just kind of make it shorter and shorter every time. Okay, so there's two different ribbons there together. Let's do, what do I want to do? I'm going to do the Christmas trees. Okay, so this one again, the tail is shorter, and then my loop's going to be shorter. So when I put this in here, just twisting it right at the part that needs to go down, so that the pretty side can stay up. So now I have 3, and this is just holding on to all of those, keeping it in place for right now. And I have 3 different ribbon patterns here so far, okay? So I'm gonna finish off with the smaller one. I'm gonna add this one in. I'd like to use these tinier ones towards, well, you always want to start with the biggest size of your ribbon on the bottom. So you want the biggest one to go first, and then just generally get smaller. But I like adding a 1.5 inch to any bow because it just kind of makes it puffier. Puffier, poofier, whatever you want to say. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. So again, this is just hanging on to all of my ribbon here, okay? So now one of the ways that I do this, I take a zip tie, okay? And it's gonna go right here, up underneath this in the middle. And I'm just gonna pull it to where I can kind of start hearing it click. Just like that. It's not tightened down all the way by any means. So now I just take what's on here and I start spreading out the tails and the loops. So if I have this tail going this way, the loop is going to go this way. And then I alternate. So the next ribbon, I've got this loop going up here and the tail down. That just kind of helps spread it out. So I do that on one side, and then I do the exact same thing on the other, except for on that side, I alternate that too. Okay, so then when I have it kind of way I want it close enough, then I will just pull it straight off with my zip tie. Okay, so that's kind of what's holding it on there right now. So then you can kind of go back and keep fluffing it out. That's why you can tell it's significantly easier to kind of have something there to kind of guide you or help hold on versus just using it with your hand. You can do it by hand for sure, but it's definitely a little bit easier when you've got something there. So then if you want to use this type of bow with all the different patterns on a project, there's two ways that you can do it. Before you have your zip tie all the way closed down, you can run your pipe cleaner right up underneath it so that essentially you're zip tying the pipe cleaner to that. Or if you want a little bit more of a permanent, you slide your zip tie underneath that. So essentially this time you're zip tying a zip tie, and then this is going to be what attaches to whatever project you have. So for wreaths and different things, I'm just going to use pipe cleaner, okay? And then you just tighten that down all the way. Okay, just like that. So then you have all of your tails and your loops going all which way. So it's kind of like a funkier one, which is kind of what I like, versus just the typical bow. I like to interchange all the different patterns. I like it to go all the different ways, yada yada. Okay, so there's that one. So what's this? Number 6, I guess. Number 6, kind of, if you throw in the one that we did with our little, just a little trick there, maybe number 7. Okay, so another thing that I'm going to show you real quick, I gotta decide what we're just gonna stick with a smaller one here. If you have one of these bow makers and you don't like the funky look of it and you just want like kind of the plain looking bow look, you can do that too. You just, again, kind of measure out your tails. You start with making your first loop. And then instead of doing anything crazy, well, there's two ways. We could stop here if you just want a plain little bow like this. You would just cut your tail off right there. Okay, so that would be a really simple one. And then you could just pipe cleaner or zip tie this one off just like that. So then you've got a little simple bow. Or if you liked this pattern and you wanted to keep on, you could just keep going with multiple loops here. And that way you could just kind of make this as full as you wanted to. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this one off. Then you just kind of pull your tails down and separate these out. So then you have something a little bit more traditional than the funky looking bow that I kind of prefer. So you have that as an option. Okay, so what are we on now? 7, 8 maybe? So the last thing, I'll make it the last one for tonight because we're about an hour here. The last thing I want to do is show you how to add greenery. So if you're making a bow and you want to add greenery to it, here's what you do. Let me grab it. So I just grabbed this, some greenery I had handy. So you want to start with your greenery this time. So I'm going to switch my ribbons up here for a minute. So what I like to do is, again, typically you would keep with the odd numbers of things, but in this case I usually like to keep it pretty even. So if I have 2 pieces on, no, we didn't, it only had 5. If I have 2 pieces of greenery on one side, I kind of want to just do 2 pieces of greenery on the other side. So what I will do with these, okay, clearly, okay, I was like, did I lose one or what happened? Okay, so if I'm using my bow maker, what I do is I just put the greenery in here first. And you can tell too, once you start kind of getting it in here, depending on what you're doing, if you need more, then you add more greenery to it. If you're happy with the way it looks, then you just go with it. So then I would just make my bow right smack on top of this greenery. I'm just going to make a simple little bow for now just to kind of show you. Okay, so again, I go back to having a zip tie, using it just like I did before, pulling it down just enough to where I can take that off. So now I've got my loops and tails here, but I've also got my greenery attached. So really I need to get that tighter a little bit. Okay, so there's that. So then if you have, like I said, if you want more greenery than that, you just keep adding to it. If you have one that is too long or too short, you can kind of adjust them. And then I just pull this as tight as I can get it. Cut that off, and it just went flying that time. So then if you just want to kind of, again, most of this greenery, you know, obviously you want to use one that's wired. You can just kind of move those around however they need to be, kind of spread it out a little bit. I don't know, that one's flopsy mopsy here. There we go. So then you have something with greenery, okay? there you have it. So there's that one. So what does that make us now? 9, I think? 9 different bows. Or ways to make a bow or use a bow or however. Right? Okay, so there's that. So you can use, I'm tired. You can go by hand, just make them by hand. Or if you want something that makes it definitely makes my life a little bit easier to use the bow maker. And again, if you want one, message me and I'll send you a link because I have an Amazon link for it. But okay, so there's that. So now I'm going to show you how I made that pretty little package that I showed you earlier. So here's my little package. My husband came home from work and said, "Oh, is that for me?" And I said, "Sure." No, it's not. It's just for us. Christmas in July. Okay, so you could tell I took my ribbon, the 1.5-inch ribbon that I had that looked like this, kind of that buffalo plaid, and we made these little cuties earlier, and I had put the pipe cleaner in there. So now you could just do like the old school kind of tape it down or somehow, but I have the pipe cleaner on here, so I thought I would just show you. So in this instance where we've got these two pieces coming together, I'm just going to take my pipe cleaner, go right up under both sides till I can grab it on each side, pull it nice and tight, and then twist that pipe cleaner on there to hold it. When you got that twisted on there good, then I just use my little pliers here and cut off the end piece. So then you've got your package, your little bow on your package, all nice and pretty, and it's on there. So that's going to impress some people at Christmas, right? It's going to impress them. They're going to say, "Hey, where'd you learn how to make that pretty little thing," right? So then the last thing I have for you is this pretty little gift tag. So it's got these fun little plaid and leopard print trees on it. It says "Merry Christmas to you from me." So it's a really simple little gift tag, and it is part of my first ever, well, I shouldn't say first ever, because if you're on my email list, I send you a free printable every month, but it's my first Christmas printable. So it's part of my printable group that I have. So see, here's the little gift tag at the bottom where it says "Merry Christmas to you." So these are printables that I'm going to now have probably every month, really, that you purchase them. All you have to do is download them. You download it right from the email or right from the checkout page after you purchase. And like I printed mine at home on cardstock. So what we're going to be doing throughout this next week of Christmas in July is crafting with all of these different things. So tonight we use the gift tag that's at the bottom, and maybe, for instance, like, you know, if that was too long for you, now I just took my pretty little scrapbook scissors to kind of cut the edges to kind of create that different design. But you could always, see, here's my little scissors that I used. You could always just cut that part off. So you would have either a smaller tag, and you could just write on the back of it, or you could just take this piece and attach it to the back, kind of hot glue, or not hot glue, but like glue stick those together or something. So that would be a really cute option. So we got that one tonight, and then I think tomorrow, yeah, I think it's tomorrow, we're gonna use these little, the Joy, Peace, and Love little wreaths on a craft. And then you have the little snowman that says "Be Joyful," and the pretty little plaid snowflake. So These are $5. $5 to download, and then you can print them off however many times you want. Like I said, you print them at home. You could send them somewhere if you needed to, if you didn't have a way to print them at home. But then you could make as many things as you wanted to with them. So, so those are really, really simple. So again, there's the gift tag that we used tonight, the trees and everything, and it comes on the same page as the snowflake. So for $5, you get all of these. So there's what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is that right? 6. I guess you could cut these apart. So 6 or 7 printables that you get for $5. So that was a pretty good deal. So let me share with you the, maybe if I can, the snowflake. So I will share the link to that. Okay, so I just pinned the link if you want to purchase the printables there. And then lastly, starting tonight, oh yeah, there they are. They're up there. So if you're interested in getting the printables, like I said, you download them immediately from like the checkout page. So you don't have to wait on them or anything like that. And then you can just craft with them. However, like I said, we're going to do that all throughout the week, craft with each one. So you can kind of see how you're going to use them. But last thing is Christmas in July sale going on now from now till Friday night at midnight. If you spend $50, you get $10 off. So if you purchase a door hanger and a printable, then you're going to save $10. So it's going to be essentially your printable for free, really, because the printables are $5. So anyway, so that should be a good little deal if you're interested or have had your eye on something. So you can do that. Oh, you need the code though, right? Okay. Christmas in July 21 is the coupon code to get $10 off when you spend $50. So Christmas in July 21. So that's a good one. So, and it doesn't have to be Christmas. You can buy, you know, you can use it on anything. And if what you're purchasing is over $50 anyway, you just get $10 off no matter what. So, but you got to use the coupon code Christmas in July 21. So anyway, man, I'm out of breath. That was a lot of bows, y'all. I said y'all. That's how tired I am. Did you hear that? So, a lot of bows. I think we did, what do we do? 8 or 9, a couple little tricks in there. And yeah, so showed you some by hand, showed you some by using the Easy Bow Maker, how to add greenery, how to just tie up a piece of ribbon to create a bow. So lots of goodies. So hopefully you found that really helpful. And we're going to be using bows throughout the rest of the week on all the other fun stuff that we're making. Tomorrow, I can't remember. I know, that's what I said. You can tell how tired I am because I said y'all. So anyway, back with more fun stuff tomorrow for crafting. And we've got the coupon code good all week. So Christmas in July 21 on the website. The printables are available now. So you can purchase those, craft with me all week. And now you know how to make some really pretty bows. So anyway, if you have any other questions, feel free to message me and I will answer those for you. And hopefully, I want to see your bows. So if you make some, definitely share them to the page so I can see what you made. So anyway, hopefully you're excited about Christmas in July. I'm excited for the whole week because I love Christmas. So I'm really happy to have that going this week. So anyway, thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.